I want to talk about your new book, A Life with Carol. I want to start at the end. Tell me about those dramatic days in 2005 when His Holiness had to have a tracheotomy, had lost the ability to speak. That had to be very difficult for him.
It was a difficult time, because every shepherd needs his voice, especially for this Pope, who was an actor in a certain sense, which means he worked with his voice. That was a great sacrifice on his part, just to lose his great predilection, his great ability to use the voice. I remember the last blessing at the St. Peter's Square. He really wanted to speak before, and he even made a serious attempt before to speak, but when he went to the window, he could not speak a word. He came back very sad. Then he said to us, if I cannot celebrate in public, that was Easter, if I cannot speak to the people, it might be better for me to die. But then immediately he added, may God's will be done. So he could speak to us with great difficulty, but he could speak. He asked for a piece of paper on which he wrote, never after he came back to this moment of great suffering. I think that these written words, totus tuus, were his last words, the last words he wrote.
This had to be a great suffering for him. I mean, after a life of so much suffering, to have this virile, active, outspoken pontiff suddenly silenced.
Wielkie cierpienie, ale to był człowiek.
Yes, he suffered a lot, but he was a man of a great faith as well. He was deeply convinced that his suffering was needed, just for the Church and for the world. We all can recall his words after the attempted assassination, that this suffering was needed by the Church. And this blood shed on St. Peter's Square was needed as well. Therefore, he received this suffering with great gratitude to God. He knew that through this suffering he could serve the Church and the world.
What is the lesson, the lasting lesson after a 40-year association and really a brotherhood and a fatherhood, a father-son relationship with this man? What is the lesson that he leaves for you?
The most profound lesson for me was being with the man who was totally dedicated to God. And this union with God, we all could feel. Nobody could speak about that openly, but we all felt it and knew it. We all knew that he was living with God and for God, and this radiated for all of us. The radiation from the other side. I repeat just what the others would say. His look was exceptional. The way he looked at other men was exceptional, and people up to this day remember this. He met the millions, but he always saw the particular man. He never treated man as a mass of people. He always saw a great worth in every man. And many times we had a contact just by seeing at each other.
I see that radiance that he brought to the world stage and that he brought to each life he encountered as an outgrowth of his spiritual life. You talk movingly here about his prayer life. Tell us what that was like.
How did he pray? Certainly he prayed with the texts, but that prayer always went into meditation. I can recall his stay in Krakow at the cathedral in Wawel. He asked during his stay there about a moment of prayer because he wanted to pray the breviary. And he completely transcended this situation. He turned off in a certain sense. Despite so many people were around, a lot of people, TV, the media, as if all of those people did not exist. He was just for God. And this provided a great lesson for all the priests present there. We just don't say the breviary, but we pray with it, we meditate on it. This took 45 minutes. It's really interesting that the journalists didn't know what to do during that time. So he simply left him in silence. just the picture of the Holy Father on TV for 45 minutes. But this made a great impression. And many people still return to this picture of the Pope on TV who prayed. He would get up very early, always half an hour meditation, before the Mass, adoration, then the Mass, a meditated Mass. The liturgy is an activity, but for him it wasn't just saying Mass, it was acting the mystery. He would enter into the mystery of the Holy Mass, and of course after the Mass, the time for thanksgiving. If I can add, it was all the same during the day, later during the day. He always prayed all those whom he expected to come to see him, and after he saw them, he prayed for them as well. He thought that was the most important prayer. And it was much more important than simply a talking to people. Of course, he had a great devotion to the Stations of the Cross. During the whole year, he would pray the Stations of the Cross every Friday. And during Lent, he did it every single day.
Do you think he is a mystic? Many say he's a mystic. He had a mystical union with God, and he encountered and saw things that are denied the rest of us. You would know better than most.
Niewątpliwie to był mistyk.
Undoubtedly, he was a mystic. It's enough to read his poetry, the Roman triptych. This is pure mystic, and all the artistic forms he used. The predominance of the mystic content over the form. All the three parts of the Roman triptych are like that. Also, the Brother of Our God. There's a lot of mysticism in that poem. Brother Albert paints the picture of Christ, but he sees in him the poor man, the image of the poor man. And he was, of course, very young when he wrote that. Wojtyła tries to show the image of Jesus Christ in man, and he emphasizes that this image should be disclosed and shown beautifully despite all the weaknesses and sins. Also, I want to recall, just for the clergy here, the Holy Hour. Every Thursday, the Pope would make 1 hour of adoration. He would always go back to the fact that when Christ was going to the olive garden, he asked the apostles whom he brought with him, and then he makes this point to them that they could not last just 1 hour with him because they fell asleep. The Pope would always repeat that this is precisely what the Church lacks these days, this 1 hour of praying with Jesus in the olive garden. And he always tried hard to complement this missing 1 hour of adoration in the Church, to complement it with his own personal prayer.
I have one final question. In the Pope's will, he wrote, "I wish to follow him." And part of his instruction was to destroy all of his personal letters. You decided not to do so. Why not?
Zależy jakie pisma.
It depends on what kind of letters or papers you mean. In those letters we can find really profound contents. It would be very detrimental just to destroy all of this. What lacked the historical value, what lacked this value we destroyed, but we saved the rest. For example, every year he would make his personal retreat, and during his time he took the notes. There's a lot of spirituality in these notes. Just to destroy this expression of his spirituality, I simply could not do that. I didn't feel it power to do something like that. By the way, at some point in the future, we hope to publish at least some of those writings, because many people want to deepen his life, his spirituality. And we see this in Krakow. Great numbers of pilgrims, groups, not only from Poland, also from other countries. They come to learn more about John Paul II and to follow in his steps.